Hello and welcome back. Oh, didn't mean to do that, but cool. We're gonna pop in on Dr. Cranium for the first time here. The start of our second video.
You've managed to find Dr. Cranium's keyhole and open the door. You pass through into Dr. Cranium's private laboratory.
Let's meet our new friend.
Igor, the fluid. I must have the fluid. Oh, excuse me. I thought it was Igor coming in to assist me. He helps out in the lab sometimes. Now then, what can I do for you?
Well, let's say hello.
You say hello to the scientist.
Welcome to my laboratory. You must have more than the usual intelligence and perseverance to have made it in here.
Suppose so. He's gonna love to hear about this.
You explain to Dr. Cranium that magic is really a lot like science, and even deals with the same elements.
Oh, nonsense! There's no such thing as magic. There is only science. What you call magic is simply scientific phenomena that have not yet been properly investigated and catalogued.
Fair enough.
You introduce yourself to Dr. Cranium and tell him a little about your adventures.
I should be most interested to hear about your travels and your scientific discoveries along the way. Unfortunately, I have very little time for that right now. Perhaps we can discuss your adventures when you next return.
Fair enough. Let's see what he has to say.
My name is Dr. Cranium. I am Moldavia's chief scientist and a certified genius. Some call me mad, but I much prefer Dr. Cranium.
He's humble.
Ah, yes, science. I'm glad you asked. Science is the process of systematically increasing our knowledge of the world through observation and experiment. Unfortunately, some of the townspeople here seem to have no concept of the wonders of science. Some of them even claim my little inventions are magical. Such poppycock. There's no such thing as magic. Still, the townspeople insisted that I should be able to use my magic to cure wounds and sickness. I told them that I am a scientist, not a doctor, but they wouldn't listen. I had little choice but to concoct some simple elixirs. They were childishly pleased. Science is really so simple once you understand it.
Excellent.
If you want to improve your stamina, then you should make sure you eat a healthy diet from all the different food groups and get plenty of aerobic exercise. That is science.
Well, how about some healing potions, then?
Oh, you must mean my patented healing drink. You may have my last one. Unfortunately, I have forgotten the formula for its main ingredient. If you can help me remember it, I will be able to make some more healing drinks, although the work is very time-consuming.
So this is essentially to make sure that you actually purchase the game instead of just stealing it or passing around a single copy and let's see, just installing it on various different devices back in the day when that was how things worked. And so within the guidebook, oh, I think I messed it up. No, I didn't. That came with the game is a series of formulas, and this is your way to prove that you actually have it.
With that information, I'm sure I shall be able to create some sensational scientific solutions.
And I just have that guidebook pulled up on a separate screen here.
Oh, you must mean my new universal poison antidote. You may have this one, but I will need some help with the formula to make more. Also, I am afraid I only have time to make one each day.
El corn. Pizza, of course, is one of the main elements, as well as earth, wind, fire, and water.
Thank you. With that information, I'm sure I shall be able to create some sensational scientific solutions.
You ask Dr. Cranium if he can spare an empty flask for specimen collection.
Of Of course. I am always delighted to assist scientific research of any kind, and I have plenty of flasks. You may have this one.
Let's go to the second one.
You ask?
Would have loved to have seen Aang do some pizza bending.
Experiments are the meat and drink of science. First, you must come up with a hypothesis based on your understanding of the scientific elements. Then perform an experiment to test the hypothesis. Afterwards, you have a pizza. Earth is for solidity and stability. Air gives freedom and movement. Fire provides power and energy. Water, fluidity, and life. Pizza, of course, is the most important element of all. Pizza represents the essence of well-roundedness and regaining strength. Most importantly, you can have it delivered in under half an hour in most areas. A hypothesis is a scientific guess. One predicts the result of an operation, performs an experiment to test the prediction, then has a pizza to celebrate the result. It is very important to stay flexible, however. Sometimes the experiment may give a different result than predicted by the hypothesis. Since real scientists don't like to make mistakes, we always write the hypothesis in pencil.
Such an odd addition.
Pizza is a crucial ingredient in many scientific formulae. There is a nearly infinite variation in its effects, depending on whether one starts with pepperoni, mushrooms, artichokes, or plain cheese. One should always order extra pizza in case the experiment requires additional materials. Besides, science is hungry work.
Okay, let's see. What else we do?
Mad? Mad? They all call me mad, but what do they know of madness? I am not mad. A bit perturbed about the world situation and how I get so little respect, perhaps, but certainly not mad.
Seems like a fundamental misunderstanding what they mean, but fair enough.
This laboratory is where I perform some of my most important research. Lately, I have been trying to bring life back to a dead body and to brew the perfect cup of tea.
Seems reasonable.
Reanimating the dead is just another day's work in the life of a scientist. Even science cannot bring a person back right the way they were, but one can use scientific principles to restore the semblance of life and energy to formerly dead flesh. The one alchemical combination that I have thus far been unable to fully analyze is that of a good cup of tea. I'm sure there must be a way to duplicate the effects of nature, but the results have not been promising so far. Perhaps you would like a cup of spearmint and beefsteak tea? I thought not. This is even harder than rehydration solution and reviving dead tissue.
Rehydration? That sounds more interesting than the perfect tea.
Research is the heart and soul of science. Without constant experimentation to prove or disprove one's hypotheses, the scientist is left trying to solve the world's problems by guesswork. That is hardly the most efficient way to achieve results. I try to maintain a modest selection of useful experimental equipment in my simple laboratory. Unfortunately, it has become very difficult to obtain the most modern scientific accessories since the road out of the valley became closed by the swamp.
Alright. The fluid.
Essential etheric fluid is an important ingredient in my formula for reanimating dead bodies. It contains the essence of the element of water, the most important ingredient in life science. Igor is the gravedigger and tombstone carver. Business has been slow lately, perhaps because there are very few people left in town. So Igor sometimes comes in to help me with my work. Igor has had less work of late. The forest is just as dangerous, but there aren't very many people left in town who are stupid enough to go out there at night, you know. I like to think of it as a sort of evolution in action.
Fair enough.
Igor is carving out quite a niche for himself in the gravestone business. You might say he is well on his way to becoming a rock star.
A little graveyard
Then
humor.
again, you might not. The cemetery is outside of town to the east. It has proven a fruitful source of materials for my experiments. There are also some interesting and cryptic puzzles to be solved there.
Alright, and anything?
There is, of course, no such thing as magic. There is only science. Still, you would be amazed at how gullible some people are. Just the other day, someone gave me this scroll saying it was a magical spell. Can you believe that? It is purest poppycock. Nothing on here makes any sense whatsoever. Here, you may have this as a reminder that magic is a figment of fevered imagination. Only science is real.
Maybe our first actual
Obviously, Dr. Cranium needs
magic
to take a
spell.
correspondence course from the famous wizard school. As you read the scroll, you find that you have learned the incantations and gestures with which to cast a glide spell. Then the scroll vanishes.
There, you see, it was not even a very good piece of parchment. Fell right apart.
Alright, very good. So, that's enough for now. We'll stop in on Dr. Cranium from time to time.
You say goodbye to Dr. Cranium.
Please be careful not to break the beakers or crack the flasks on your way out.
Sure.
Come back and visit again. Oh, and if you see Igor, please tell him I still need the fluid.
Alright. I don't even know if we can tell Igor about the fluid. Let's find out.
The headstone carver.
Nope, doesn't look like it. Alright. So, we're next going to go into the Adventurers Guild.
Lock the door using the key the Burgomeister gave you.
And we're going to do a little bit more learning in here as well.
You pick up the rope and grapnel set and tie it onto your pack.
Wonderful. Throw it up there. And let's take a look here.
This desk holds the adventurer's logbook, a quill pen, and an... This desk...
So we could read the book. Oh. Oh.
That would be a lot easier if... You sign your name into the adventurer's logbook with a flourish.
Always
It's
with a
almost
flourish.
become a habit by now.
And let's take a read.
You read in the adventurer's log about some of the exploits of past adventurers in Moldavia. Prominent among them is the story of Piotr and the Dark One's cult. Near the end of the book, Piotr tells how he led the armies against the Chernovi cult outside the Dark One's cave. The fighters were trained soldiers, but the cult members fought like madmen. Suddenly, the cult members changed their forms and became grotesque monsters. Many of the soldiers panicked and ran. The battle was nearly lost. Then Piotr heard the voice of Irana. By all my will, I banish you too. The voice was cut off. The cult members screamed and ran. Piotr entered the cave and searched for some sign of life. All he could find were the grotesque remains of cult members. The only sign of Irana was her magical staff lying on the ground. Piotr picked it up and left the cave, knowing that Irana was beyond his help. Piotr then tells how he brought the staff back to town and placed it in the town square. A garden of flowers instantly sprang up around it. Near the end of the book, Piotr tells that he was going to seek out the rituals of the Dark One and destroy them. There are no later entries.
Interesting tale.
The case looks totally solid, as if it was constructed around the sword. A plaque reads, "Break glass in emergency only."
I think we could use a decent sword.
You break open the front of the case. Avoiding the broken glass, you pull out the sword. It looks like a fine quality weapon.
Certainly looks better put together than the rusty blade I think we had picked up initially, although it seems to have just disappeared on us and been replaced by this much nicer one. Alright. And now we have a little bit of reading to do.
Which book do you want to read? You read the book entitled Climbing Skills for Upwardly Mobile Adventurers. It's written entirely in one-syllable words, obviously intended for fighters. It's absolutely fascinating.
So
This
if we
book
had
teaches
no
you that
climbing
climbing
skill.
sheer walls is best left for specialists, but that anyone with reasonable strength can climb using a rope and grapnel. You're pretty sure you know what to do now.
So let's see if we've acquired some climbing skills. Hooray! We now have the ability to climb. We also have an extremely small amount of magic still, since we never really worked on it at all in the previous game, but we do have the ability to heal if need be. Alright, let's do a little more reading.
Which book?
There's a lot of useful information through all of this.
As you scan through Hero, the Journal of General Job Adjusting, you find quite a bit of information that might be useful here. There are a series of articles about the land of Moldavia. The town originally grew up around Castle Borgov. The Borgovs were the boyars, or local noblemen, assigned the role of guarding the area from invaders. The chapter on fauna describes a number of interesting creatures. The Necritor is a vicious carnivore with big, sharp teeth. Some of the other monsters sound even more horrific. In the forest lives the Leshy, a creature known for playing practical jokes on travelers and playing riddle games, but which can also be helpful to those it likes.
Interesting.
You learn about the Rosalka, the spirit of a murdered, unmarried woman. Such spirits are said to inhabit lakes and rivers. They try to avenge themselves by drowning any man foolish enough to approach them. You could really learn a lot by reading this magazine thoroughly, instead of just browsing through it. Isn't it nice that we included a complete copy in your game box?
So another piece there that is it's not quite making it impossible for you to advance in the game, but it does make it so that it is valuable to have the kind of guidebook that comes with the game available.
The book turns out to be an advertising brochure. It says, I, Dr. Cranium, predict that someday one of my descendants will become the subject of a major computer game. The Castle of Dr. Brain from Sierra Online. Jeez, how cheesy can you get?
Oh, in-game,
The book is all about using spells in unusual and creative ways, such as calming a fire, using alternate flame and frost spells to make something brittle and break, and so on. You pick up a number of useful tips which will improve your spellcasting.
let's see how much that went up.
This book teaches the ancient Oriental art of talk fool. How to overcome opponents by attacking them with the unpronounceable names of martial arts forms and confusing them with fortune cookie wisdom. You get lost somewhere between karate and kuksul.
And this last
This book teaches you how to use the stair stepper to build strong leg muscles and talks about the importance of whole body development. It says to build up your strength gradually by adding weights to the baskets.
one. Interesting. All right. Let's see where we're at. Yeah, nice. Nice 25 points to spells. Or magic, rather. Very good. Let's quickly do some stair stepping.
Your legs are too stiff.
And eventually, before too much time goes by, we will have
After some
overused the stair
After-
stepper to the point where we can no longer use it, but
after some
that's okay.
after s-
Quite possibly, given where our strength's at already,
your legs are t-
it'll be before we even use all the weights, but
After
we'll
s-
see. Oops.
after s- after some
We'll just do this for
after s-
today quickly.
after s- There's only a certain amount of punishment your body can stand on any given. You consider placing a few more weights in the bath.
I lied. Alright. Maybe we'll do a little more a different day. Alright, so the day is almost over. So, why don't we...
Still, Yuri.
Yeah. Let me step outside just for a minute and see if we can't find a certain friend of ours that we just read about. To remember exactly how the map works, but I think it's close to this area. There we go. Giggle from behind the bush. Then a squeaky voice asks, 1 and 1 and 1 makes 3. Tell me what you make of me. Reading, writing, riddling game. Can you tell me what's my name? So, it appears to be some kind of creature that likes riddles, which we just heard was the Leshy.
Tell the creature it's called the Leshy.
Ah, that's the price of too much fame. Now you've gone and guessed my name. Leshy, look and see, in a bush or up a tree. Leshy, riddle rhyme. Can you solve them every time?
And generally speaking, the Leshy will give us some hints on what to do in the game. So let's see if we can't pop back in. And kind of have to play this little chasing game where we click on everything. First I remembered that pattern. It's been a long time.
2 and 2 and 2 make 6. A little bush is in a fix. If you save a plant from goo, I can help you with a clue.
Plant from goo. Well, if I remember correctly, when we first came to Mordavia, we exited the cave and... Oh no, there's a rabid bunny to fight. Yes, when we first exited the cave, after we slid down that ramp, there was a bush. It looked like it was in a big pile of goo. Maybe that's where we need to go.
There's some...
Oh, I'm too far over. And it is now becoming nighttime. It's a dangerous time to be out. I think we'll rescue the bush, head back to town for the night, and we will return it in the morning. Yeah, let's see. I think we accidentally picked up a few rocks, so let's see if that's enough.
We managed to knock a few of the rocks loose from the pile, although the remaining stones still dam up the pool. You knocked some more rocks loose. The pile is definitely loosening. That last throw did it. The rock pile has collapsed and goo is oozing.
Oozing. Alright, let's grab this bush, and then we will end things here for today. See where we're at as we come to a close for now. But we will pick things up in the next video by helping out this poor little plant that's been stuck in goo. Alright, we'll see you next time. Bye.